Yes, friends, welcome once again to the class, and let's look at our new topic, which is nuclear shell model. And nuclear shell model is actually similar to Bohr model for electrons. Okay, what is this nuclear shell model all about? It is similar to Bohr model for electrons in extra nuclear space. Now you know this very well that in Bohr model for electrons, what do we have? You have learnt in your 11th and 12th standard regarding the electronic configuration of atoms, electronic configuration of elements, and how the electrons are filled in the various successive energy levels with the help of above principle. That thing you have already learnt in the lower classes, right? But this nuclear shell model is very similar to that particular model for electrons. Okay, so the Bohr model for electron is in the extra nuclear space. For how electrons are filled in the extra nuclear space, that is told by Bohr model for electrons. But as far as nuclear shell model is concerned, it is related to how the nucleons are filled inside the nucleus in various successive energy levels. Okay, so both the models are very similar, but the only thing is intricate details will be different. For both the models the intricate details will be different. The for example, the in the Bohr model we have magic numbers, means noble gas atoms, right? Means two electrons, when two electrons are filled in the shell, 1s2. For example, the first noble gas is helium. The electronic configuration of helium is 1s2. Then the second noble gas is neon, right? It has 10 electrons. So in the first shell 2 electrons are filled, and in the next shell 8 electrons are filled. Okay, then we have, after helium we have neon, then after neon we have argon, then we have krypton, then we have xenon. Okay, so these are noble gases. Why are these noble gases? Because in these particular atoms of noble gases, the outermost shell is completely filled. That's why they show inert behavior. Okay, similarly, in this particular nuclear shell model, we will also experience such a situation when the protons and neutrons are completely filled. That is the shell inside the nucleus, the shells in which nucleons are being filled. That particular shell, when it gets completely filled, the nucleus is extra stable. Okay, so such situations we are going to encounter over here also. So nuclear shell model is similar to Bohr model for electrons in extra nuclear space. By analogy with closed shells and subshells in case of atoms. You know this very well, that what are closed shells and subshells in case of atoms. You have learnt it in lower classes. Even if you don't remember it, still you must be knowing superficially. No need to go into the detail of electronic configuration of elements. Okay, electronic configuration of atoms or elements, no need to go into those details. Okay, because no one is going to ask you in physics that how to write the electronic configuration of magnesium, how to write the electronic configuration of potassium, or scandium, or any other element. No one is going to ask you that in physics. Okay, because that was a part of plus 2 level, that is 11th and 12th standard chemistry. It was a part of that physical chemistry. But as far as this particular series is concerned, that is nuclear and particle physics, in this particular series only nuclear configuration will be asked to you. Only nuclear configuration will be asked to you. So no need to worry about the electronic configuration of atoms. Okay, I just gave you the analogy so that you are able to recall properly. That's why I gave you the analogy. Okay, so by analogy with closed shells and subshells in case of atoms, it is assumed that nucleons also form similar closed shells and subshells. Okay, and whenever there will be closed shells and subshells, we will encounter the magic number. What are magic numbers? We are going to learn. But for the time being, just understand that whenever we have closed shells and subshells, that particular number of nucleons, at which we arrive at closed shells and subshells, that particular number of nucleon, when filled inside the nucleus is extra stable. Okay, so such is the situation. The way we had noble gas atoms, similarly we have extra stable nucleus over here. Okay, so that is the thing. Please do not get confused between the stability of nucleus and stability of atom. Okay, stability of nucleus is determined by the fact that how nucleons are being filled inside the nucleus. That determines the stability of nucleus, and the stability of atom is determined by how electrons are being filled in the outermost shell. Okay, that is the fact which determines the stability of atoms. So filling of electrons determines stability of atoms or elements, but filling up of nucleons inside the nucleus, that determines the stability of nucleus, not the element. Okay, so stability of element will be determined only because of electronic configuration, not because of nuclear configuration, but stability of nucleus will be determined by nuclear configuration. Okay, so this thing you must remember. So by analogy with closed shells and subshells, in case of atoms, it is assumed that nucleons also form similar closed shells and subshells within the nucleus. Okay, so within the nucleus, your nucleons also form similar closed shells and subshells. The neutrons and protons constituting the nucleus are supposed to be arranged in some type of shell structure. Okay, the neutrons and protons which are being filled inside the nucleus are supposed to be arranged in some type of shell structure. Okay, and these shells get closed with suitable number of protons and neutrons. So I already told to you, right, when a certain number of protons and neutrons are filled up, that is a particular number of nucleons is filled up inside the various shells of the nucleus, then we get some specific arrangement where there is some extra stability. Okay, so that is the case when we have closed shell, that is completely filled shell. Okay, and in that particular case we arrive at magic number. Okay, so neutrons and protons constituting the nucleus are supposed to be arranged in some type of shell structure, and these shells get closed with suitable number of protons and neutrons. Okay, it is assumed that each nucleon moves independently inside the nucleus. Okay, it is assumed. What do we assume over here? You know this very well, that nucleons are filled inside the nucleus with the help of nuclear force. Okay, so nuclear force is attractive in nature. You have already learned that the nuclear force is attractive in nature, irrespective of the charge. Okay, even two protons can attract each other if there is some specific distance at which they are separated. Okay, when, let me tell you this thing, that when two protons, okay, when two protons which have similar charges are separated far from each other, okay, they are far apart from each other. When they are far apart from each other, only Coulombian, okay, only Coulombian repulsion force will act. Only Coulombian repulsion will act when two protons are far apart from each other. But when we fill up the protons inside the nucleus, this is suppose your what? This is suppose your nucleus. And inside this nucleus, protons are being filled. So the protons are filled so closely to one another, the protons are so nearby one another in this particular nucleus, that when they get this particular distance, less than some particular distance which we call, I don't remember it properly, but when the distance between these two protons is reduced to such an extent that it gets lower than the distance gets lower than the critical distance, okay, some critical value of distance, then they experience nuclear force. Okay, then they experience nuclear force, and this nuclear force is always attractive in nature. Okay, it is what? It is always attractive in nature. It is not repulsive in nature. Even if we have like charges particles like two protons, even then this nuclear force is attractive in nature irrespective of the charge. Okay, so in this at this particular very low distance, at this particular very small distance, the nuclear force becomes the dominating factor, and the Coulombian repulsion force is not dominating over here. So that's why the two protons inside the nucleus are held together, and the nucleus does not break apart. Okay, why does the nucleus not break apart? You must wonder by this particular fact that we have suppose magnesium nucleus. Okay, so what do we have in magnesium nucleus? In magnesium nucleus we have 12 protons and 24 total number of nucleons. Okay, so we have Z equal to 12, that is we have 12 protons, and we have number of neutrons equal to 24 minus 12, which is equal to 12. So we have 12 neutrons also. Now you must be wondering that this particular magnesium nucleus, how 12 protons are being filled inside this particular magnesium nucleus, because whenever we will try to fill the 12 protons in this nucleus, the Coulombian repulsion between these 12 protons, as they are like charged, they have what? They have like charges, right? Like charges. So even after having like charges, how these 12 protons are being filled inside the nucleus? That is the question. Now the thing is despite having like charges, when they are filled inside the nucleus, the distance between them is such a small distance. The distance at which they are separated from one another inside the nucleus, that particular separation is such a small separation inside the nucleus that every two protons attract each other instead of repulsion. Okay, instead of undergoing repulsion, every two protons attract each other. Why? Because the nuclear force becomes the dominating factor. Okay, and the Coulombian repulsion goes in the backwards. Okay, that is Coulombian force goes to the background and nuclear force comes to the fore. Okay, nuclear force comes to the fore. Okay, so that's how 12 protons are filled up inside the nucleus. Okay, so that is the story. Now it is assumed that each nucleon moves independently inside the nucleus in a fixed orbit. Okay, what is assumed? It is assumed that each nucleon moves independently inside the nucleus, that is each nucleon is unaffected by the movement of another nucleon. Okay, every nucleon is moving independently inside the nucleus in a fixed orbit under the influence of central field of force or central potential V of r produced by the average interaction between all the remaining a-1 nucleons in it. Now you must be knowing this, that A represents what? A is the atomic mass number, and okay, so atomic mass number means total number of nucleons. Okay, what does it mean by atomic mass number? Atomic mass number means the total number of nucleons inside the nucleus. So A is the total number of nucleons inside the nucleus. Now we are assuming, it is just an assumption, it is not true actually, it is just an approximation. It is just an approximation or just an assumption, we can say, that the way electrons were revolving around the nucleus, you must have learnt in your lower classes that according to Niels Bohr models, this is suppose your nucleus, then electrons are revolving around this particular nucleus in closed shells. Okay, these two electrons are revolving around this particular nucleus. So such is the model of atom, that is the Bohr's model of atom. Now we are studying inside this particular nucleus what is the case. So inside this particular nucleus, when we magnify and look at this particular nucleus, okay, this is your nucleus, this is the boundary of your nucleus suppose. This is the boundary of your nucleus, suppose. Okay, this is the boundary of your nucleus, and inside this nucleus the two protons, as the atom has two electrons in it, the atom has two electrons in it, so it will have two protons, okay, and two neutrons. So the two protons and two neutrons, okay, two protons and two neutrons are also revolving inside the nucleus, okay. I have magnified this particular part, okay, I have magnified that particular part, and these two are neutrons, this and this is neutron, and these two are protons, this particular and this particular are protons, okay. So the nucleons are also revolving around a hollow central field, okay. Over here in the case of atom we had nucleus, in case of atom we had nucleus, right, and around that nucleus, because of the central field created by the nucleus, the electrons were revolving. But over here we do not have anything over here at the center, the center is blank, okay, this particular center is blank, okay. But then how nucleons are revolving? Because the field that is created, okay, the field that is created by the remaining nucleons, okay, let me tell you this thing, that over here it is hollow, okay. So if we consider this particular proton, what are the forces acting on this particular proton, we try to consider, suppose. Then the field, the field of nuclear force, okay, the nuclear force field created by these three nucleons, the nuclear force field created by these three nucleons will be responsible for the movement of this particular proton, okay. So this proton will move in this orbit, in this particular orbit, on account of the field created by the other three nucleons. We had four nucleons over here, right, we had four nucleons over here, two protons and two neutrons, okay. So the proton, if we try to consider this particular proton which is revolving, which is moving along this closed path, closed shell, then this particular proton is moving on account of the nuclear force field being created by these three nucleons, okay. Then if we try to consider this particular neutron, which are the forces acting on this particular neutron, then we will realize that these three nucleons, whatever nuclear force field is being created by these three nucleons, that is responsible for the movement of this particular neutron, okay. So that is the thing, if we have a nucleons, then if we consider any particular nucleon out of these a nucleons, then that particular nucleon will be moving in the closed shell on account of the nuclear force field, central nuclear force field, okay, central nuclear force field, okay, central nuclear force field being created by the other a-1 nucleons, okay. So that is the thing. So it is assumed that each nucleon moves independently inside the nucleus in a fixed orbit under the influence of central field of force, that is central nuclear force field or central potential on account of nuclear force. Central potential V of r produced by the average interaction between all the remaining a-1 nucleons in it, okay. Central potential V of r produced by average interaction between all the remaining a-1 nucleons in it, okay, got it. So that is the thing. Now we will learn about magic number, okay. So the role which nucleus played, inside the atom, what role did nucleus play inside the atom? The nucleus played the role of providing central force to the outside electrons for revolving around the nucleus, okay. Inside the atom, electrons are revolving around the nucleus. So why electrons are revolving around the nucleus in an atom? Because the nucleus provided the central force field, electrostatic central force field. for the electrons to move around the nucleus. Okay, so that was on account of electrostatic central force field. Okay, the movement of electrons around the nucleus. But when we talk about the nucleons inside the nucleus, the role which the nucleus played in the atom, that particular role of providing central force field, the role of providing central force field to the nucleons, okay, that is played by the other a-1 nucleons. Okay, if we consider any particular nucleon inside the nucleus, then the role of providing the central force field for the nucleon to revolve around the center of nucleus, that particular central force field is provided by the nuclear force of the another a-1 nucleons which are inside the nucleus. Okay, so that's how the nucleons are revolving inside the nucleus. Okay, in the presence of a central force field on account of nuclear force being provided by other a-1 nucleons. Okay, so that is the thing. Now we will learn about magic numbers. The simplest evidence for the nuclear shell model. We will learn about nuclear shell model in very much detail. Okay, don't worry about that. How to write the nuclear configuration and all those stuff. We are going to learn each and every concept very properly and in a very lucid manner. Okay, very properly and a very lucid manner. We are going to learn everything. But you will have to be patient. You will have to be patient. And you will also have to watch each and every lecture very seriously. Only then you will be benefited from this course. If you don't watch the lecture seriously, if you watch any lecture in between and then you say that oh we will watch it later, then that is not going to serve you the purpose. Okay, that will not benefit you at all. So please remember this thing. So magic numbers, the simplest evidence for nuclear shell model comes from. So what is the evidence for nuclear shell model? Okay, there must be some evidence, right? How the nuclear shell model is verified in real life? Because in real life we cannot look inside the nucleus, right? We cannot have a high resolution microscope and look at the nucleons. We cannot do like that because the nucleons are such a tiny particle that we cannot see them with the help of any powerful microscope also. Okay, so the we will need to have some evidences, right? Because we cannot look inside the nucleus. It is very much tiny. Okay, it is of the order of 10 to the power minus 15 meter, and 10 to the power minus 15 meter is a very small distance. So we will look for some other evidences so that our theory is proved correct. Okay, so the simplest evidence for the nuclear shell model comes from the discovery of magic numbers. Okay, now whenever any nucleus has two nucleons, two protons or neutrons, okay, these magic numbers are what? Let me tell you that these magic numbers, okay, these hold good when number of protons is equal to these numbers, or number of neutrons is equal to these numbers in the box. Okay, so whenever we will have two protons inside the nucleus, it will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we will have 8 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we have 20 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we will have 28 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we have 50 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we have 82 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we have 126 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Similarly, whenever we will have 2 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Whenever we have 8 protons inside the nucleus, that will be a neutrons. Okay, two neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be magic nuclei. 8 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be magic nuclei. 20 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclide. 28 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be magic nuclide. 50 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be magic nuclei. 82 neutrons inside the nucleus, magic nuclei. 126 neutrons inside the nucleus, that will be a magic nuclei. Okay. So either number of protons or number of neutrons. Okay, not atomic mass number. Okay, please remember this thing. Either the number of protons is equal to 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82, 126, or the number of neutrons is equal to 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82, 126. Okay, so in that case the nucleus is magic nucleus. So the simplest evidence for nuclear shell model comes from the discovery of magic numbers. Nuclei having a magic number of neutrons or magic number of protons are called magic nuclei. Okay, please remember that, not atomic mass number A. Okay, no relation with atomic mass number. Okay, atomic mass number A. Okay, no matter whether the atomic mass number A, that is the total number of nucleons, even if the total number of nucleons is a magic number, still it might not be a magic nuclei. Okay, so you have to look at the number of protons or neutrons only then that will be a magic nuclei. Okay. This has no relation with atomic mass number A. Even if the atomic mass number A is a magic number, doesn't matter, it is not dependent on the atomic mass number A. Okay, so this thing you must remember. So nuclei having a magic number of neutrons or magic number of protons are called magic nuclei. Magic nuclei have somewhat different properties from nuclei with neighboring values of n or z. Okay. What does this particular statement mean? Okay, magic number have somewhat different properties from nuclei with neighboring values of n and z. Okay, so we are going to learn this particular fact in the next slide, that magic nuclei have somewhat different properties from the nuclei with neighboring values of n or z. That is suppose we have what? We have neon, suppose. Okay, we have suppose helium, suppose. Okay, we have what? Helium. Then what is the number of protons? Number of protons is equal to 2, so it is a magic nuclei. And what is the number of neutrons? Number of neutrons is equal to 4 minus 2. That is again equal to 2. So it is a magic number in both the cases. That is, with the help of number of protons also it is magic nuclei, and with the help of number of neutron also it is a magic nuclei. So it is a highly stable nucleus. Okay. Now if we consider some neighboring nuclei, so if we consider some neighboring nuclei, then what will happen? Suppose we have lithium. Lithium is Z equal to 3 and atomic mass number equal to 6. Okay. So what do we have for lithium? Z equal to 3. So Z equal to 3 is a neighbor of Z equal to 3 is a neighbor of Z equal to 2. Okay. So as compared to lithium, this helium will have some specific extra stability properties. This helium will have, because Li, that is lithium, is a neighbor of helium with respect to atomic number, right? Helium has atomic number 2, lithium has atomic number 3. So lithium is the neighbor of helium, but this helium is a magic nuclei and lithium is the neighbor of helium. So these magic nuclei have somewhat different properties from nuclei with neighboring values of n or z. Okay, so magic nuclei have somewhat different properties from nuclei with neighboring values of n or z. Okay, so the neighboring value of n or z, whatever you might have, so magic nuclei have somewhat different properties from that. Okay, so helium will have somewhat different properties from this particular neighbor lithium. Okay, these nuclei are like, and what are those specific different properties? What are those specific different properties? We are going to learn in the next slide. Okay, these nuclei, that is magic nuclei, are like inert gas atoms that have closed electronic shells. Okay, this is the analogy which we have. Okay, what do we have in case of inert gas atoms? Inert gas atoms are helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon. Okay, so in helium we have 2 electrons. In helium we have 2 electrons. In neon we have 10 electrons. And in argon we have 18 electrons. In krypton we have 36 electrons. In xenon we have 54 electrons. And in radon we have 86 electrons. So what is the speciality? When you try to write the electronic configuration of helium, it is 1s2. When you try to write that of neon, it is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Okay, 2p6. So these electronic configurations provide, similarly if you try to write that of the electronic configuration of argon, similarly if you try to write the electronic configuration of krypton, similarly if you try to write the electronic configuration of xenon and radon, we will have completely filled atomic shell. We will have completely filled electronic shell or atomic shell. So that provides extra stability. But this is for electrons. Okay, so what are the magic number for electrons? In case of electrons, the magic numbers are 2, 10, 18, 36, 54, 86. These are what? These are magic number for electrons, because these are the total number of electrons in the noble gases. Okay, so these are what? These are magic number for electrons. These are magic number for electrons. But for protons and neutrons, that is when we try to fill up protons and neutrons in a similar manner inside the nucleus, the magic numbers are 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82 and 126. Okay, so these are magic number for electrons: 2, 10, 18, 36, 54, 86. These are magic number for electrons. But for protons and neutrons which are filled inside the nucleus, the magic numbers are 2, 8, 20, 28, 50, 82 and 126. Okay, so this is the thing which you must remember. So that is the analogy which we are giving with the noble gases, that these nuclei are like inert gas atoms that have closed electronic shells. Okay, so the nuclei with magic numbers the nuclei with magic numbers have closed nuclear shells. Okay, nuclei with magic numbers have closed nuclear shells. Okay, closed nuclear shells. Okay, nuclei with magic numbers have closed nuclear shells. Evidences for the magic numbers. Okay, now what are the evidences which we have for magic numbers? The binding energy of magic nuclei are much larger than the neighboring nuclei. I have already told to you. Okay, for example, helium and lithium, they are neighbor to one another, but the binding energy of helium will be much higher than that of lithium. Okay, because lithium does not have a magic number of protons or neutrons, but lithium does not have a magic number of protons or neutrons, but helium does have. So the binding energy of magic nuclei are much larger. That is, binding energy of helium will be much larger than that of lithium or hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen and lithium are neighbor of helium. So as compared to hydrogen or lithium, helium will have a very high binding energy. Okay, a larger energy is required to separate a nucleon from magic nuclei. The similar case We know this very well that in case of noble gases, the ionization potential, the ionization energy is very high in case of inert gases. Okay, why ionization energy is very high in case of inert gases? You have already learned in the lower classes, right? Because it has completely filled electrons, completely filled electronic shell, and when we try to provide energy to ionize the noble gas atom, that energy required is very high because it does not want to lose its stability. Okay, so to eject an electron from noble gas atom is very difficult because it is already closed shell. It has already closed shell of electrons, and to eject electron from that closed shell of electrons is very difficult. So ionization potential for noble gases is very high. But similar case is there with this magic nuclei. Okay, magic number nuclei. A larger energy is required to separate a nucleon from magic nuclei. Okay, if we try to remove a proton, that is, if we try to eject a proton or a neutron, if we want to eject a proton or a neutron from a nuclei having magic number of protons or neutrons, if we try to eject a proton or neutron from that, then that is going to be very difficult because it has already closed shell. Okay, so a very large energy is required to separate a nucleon from magic nuclei. Just a second, friends. Larger energy is required to separate a nucleon from magic nuclei. The low lying excited states of such nuclei are much higher in energy. Okay, what does it mean? Low lying excited states, okay, means low lying excited state of such nuclei, that is magic nuclei. For magic nuclei, the low lying excited states. Okay, so for example, we have suppose we have these are the various excited states. These are the various states in which protons and neutrons are residing. Okay, so there is proton, neutron, and again proton. Suppose such is the situation. Then what are the low lying excited states for this particular low lying excited states? So this is the ground state, right? This particular state is what? It is a ground state. Now what are the low lying excited state? This is a high lying excited state. Now what are the low lying excited states? These three intermediate states are low lying excited state. Okay, so these three particular states, these yellow states, okay, these are low lying excited states, and these low lying excited states are in much higher energy. Okay, for magic nuclei. Okay, so these are very high in energy. These three yellow box, okay, these three yellow box orbits will be much higher in energy. And this particular state will be very low in energy, means the proton will lie somewhere over here. This particular proton will lie somewhere over here. Okay, so this gap will be very high. That is what is the meaning of this. The number of stable nuclei with given value of Z and N corresponding to the magic number are much more than the number of stable nuclei with neighboring values of Z and N. Okay, so the number of stable nuclei, that is number of isotopes or isotones, that we are going to discuss. The number of stable nuclei with given value of Z or N, that is the magic number of Z or N corresponding to magic number. So number of stable nuclei with neighboring values of Z and N, as compared to them, the nuclei having magic number of Z or N, those will have more number of stable nuclei. For example, we can look over here. This 20, Z equal to 20 corresponds to calcium. Okay, Z equal to 20 corresponds to calcium. This is what magic number. This yellow number is magic number. Now, total number of stable isotopes is 6. Okay, so we will have calcium 20, 40. Okay, we will have calcium 20, 41. Okay, we will have calcium 20, 39. Okay, so we will have 6 isotopes: calcium 20, 38. Okay, we will have calcium 20, 42, right? We will have calcium 20, 43. So these are the total number of stable isotopes, that is 6 stable isotopes for calcium. Okay, so these are the total number of stable isotopes for calcium, as 20 is a magic number, Okay, so it has 6 stable isotopes. But the neighboring potassium has 19 number of protons, so that is not a magic number. Neighboring potassium has 19 number of protons, that is not a magic number, so it has only 2 stable isotopes. Neighboring scandium has 21 protons, that is not a magic number, so it has only 1 stable isotopes. Okay, similarly, this particular element titanium has 22 protons, so it has 5 stable isotopes. Okay, but none of the neighbors has such a high number of stable isotopes. Okay, 6 stable isotopes is only the case with calcium, because calcium has magic number of protons, so the most number of stable isotopes only calcium has. None of the neighbor has such a high number of stable isotopes. Okay, so that is what is meant by this particular statement. The number of stable nuclei with given value of Z or N. So given number of Z, the number of isotopes, okay, are much more than the number of stable nuclei with neighboring values of Z or N. Okay, table 1 gives number of stable isotopes around Z equal to 20. Table 2 gives number of isotopes around Z equal to 50. We are going to look at table 2 also. Okay, and table 3 gives number of stable isotones. What are isotones? Isotones are the nucleus. Isotones are nuclei having same number of neutrons. Okay, what are isotones? Isotones are nuclei having same number of neutrons. So nuclei which have magic number of protons or neutrons, those nuclei show the most number of stable isotopes or isotones. Okay, isotopes in case of proton being the magic number. Okay, so highest number of stable isotopes as compared to neighbors. Highest number of stable isotopes as compared to neighbors in the case when number of protons is magic number. Okay. So highest number of stable isotopes as compared to neighbors in the case when number of protons is a magic number. Okay. And highest number of stable isotones. When do we have isotones? Isotones. When do we have isotones? So highest number of stable isotones as compared to neighbors in the case when number of neutrons, okay, is a magic number. So that is the thing which you must remember. Okay. So let us see. So table 2. This particular number is a magic number. Okay. This is what? This is tin. Tin. Symbol of tin. Okay. The Latin name is stannum. So that's why symbol of tin is Sn. Okay. 50 is a magic number. So number of proton is a magic number. So it has highest number of stable isotopes, that is 10 stable isotopes. But the neighbor antimony with 51 number of protons has only 2 stable isotopes. Similarly, the neighbor indium with 49 number of protons has only 1 stable isotope. Similarly, technetium with 52 number of protons has only 8 stable isotopes. None of the neighbor has 10 stable isotopes. Okay, none of the neighbor has 10 stable isotopes. Now these are the cases when proton number was magic number. These are the cases. This table 2 and this particular table 1, these are the cases when number of protons was a magic number. So that's why we talked about isotopes. Now if we try to talk about neutron number being the magic number, okay, neutron number being the magic number, then what will happen? Then we will have most number of stable isotones, okay, in that case. So let us see. This is the thing when total number of stable isotones. For example, potassium 1939. Okay. So what is the total number of neutrons in this particular case? 39 minus 19, that is equal to 20, which is a magic number. Okay. Now if we have 21 number of neutrons, for example, we have suppose potassium 1940. Okay. So what will happen? Potassium 1940 as 40 minus 19 is equal to neutron number is equal to 21. Okay. So it will have 0 stable isotones. Okay. Then we have, when we have 19 number of neutrons, that will also have 0 stable isotones. Then when we have 18 number of neutrons, that will also have only 3 stable isotones. Then 22, only 3 stable isotones. Okay. So that is the thing. Similarly 50 is a magic number. So when neutron number equal to 50, when neutron number equal to 20, in those cases highest number of stable isotones will be possible. Okay. All the neighbors have lower number of stable isotones. Okay. So that is the thing. The simplest way to explain the magic numbers is to assume that each nucleon in the nucleus moves freely in an orbit about the center of mass of the nucleus. Okay. Now the simplest way to explain magic numbers. Okay, how to explain magic numbers? We have to assume that each nucleon, suppose this is your nucleus and these are the electrons. Okay, these are electrons revolving around the nucleus. Then we magnify this particular nucleus. then if you magnify that particular nucleus, this is suppose the boundary of that particular nucleus. Okay, and inside that protons and neutrons are revolving in closed shells. Okay, these are protons and neutrons. Okay, so the simplest way to explain the magic numbers is to assume that each nucleon in the nucleus, okay, each nucleon in the nucleus, that is these nucleons, okay, each nucleon in the nucleus moves freely in an orbit about the center of mass of the nucleus. Okay, so where is the center of mass of this particular nucleus? Where is the center of mass of this particular nucleus? Over here in the center. Okay, in the center, let me put a dot over here. Okay, over here is the center of mass of this particular nucleus. Okay, so the way for electrons we had center at the nucleus, so around the nucleus the electrons were revolving. Similarly, we can have center of mass of the nucleus in case of nucleons revolving around the center of nucleus. So in the case of nucleons revolving around the center of nucleus, we can assume the entire mass of the nucleus to be concentrated at its center of mass, and around that center of mass each nucleon is revolving. This nucleon is revolving around the center of mass of the nucleus. This nucleon is revolving around the center of mass of the nucleus. This nucleon is revolving around the center of mass of the nucleus. This nucleon is revolving around the center of mass of the nucleus. Okay, so this particular model is known as independent particle model. Okay, this is known as what? Independent particle model. That is, you are considering each and every particle to be independent. Suppose you have A nucleons. What is independent particle model? What is independent particle model? Suppose you have A nucleons. Okay, suppose you have A number of nucleons. Okay, then the other A-1 nucleons will be independent. Okay, one nucleon you are considering independent, then that one independent nucleon will be revolving with the help of the field created by A-1 other nucleons. Okay, similarly, if you consider some other nucleons, suppose you have 5 nucleons, then what will happen? 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 nucleons. 2 of them are proton, 3 of them are neutron. Okay, so if you consider this particular proton, then this particular proton will be revolving with the help of the field created by these nucleons. Okay, 4 nucleons. Then if you consider this particular proton, then this particular proton will be revolving with the help of field created by these 4 nucleons. Okay, then if you consider this particular nucleon, that is this particular neutron, then that particular neutron will be revolving with the help of field created by all these nucleons. Okay, similarly you can see, so whenever you consider a single proton or neutron, that is nucleon, that particular nucleon is revolving with the help of the field created by the other A-1 nucleons. Okay, so it is called independent particle model. That is, you are considering each particle to be independent of the other. Okay, or you are calling the other particles to be collectively behaving as one entity. Other A-1 nucleons you are considering to be behaving as a single entity. Okay, so that is called as independent particle model. The potential experienced by nucleon is the average potential due to other nucleons. Already told to you, the potential experienced by each nucleon is the average potential due to other A-1 nucleons. Okay, if A is the total number of nucleons. The suitable potential for this purpose. Okay, what are the suitable potentials for this purpose? Harmonic oscillator potential is a suitable potential for this purpose, and square well potential is a suitable potential for this purpose. So these are what? Harmonic oscillator potential. This is an approximation. Okay, approximation. because nucleus is a multi-bodied problem. Nucleus is a multi-body problem, right? Because we have a number of nucleons. But that multi-body problem is very difficult to be solved. Okay, these are the approximations. Nucleus is a multi-body problem. Okay, nucleus is a multi-body problem because it has a number of nucleons. So Schrödinger solution, okay, Schrödinger wave equation, solution is very tedious. So what do we do? So that's why we take approximations. And those approximations are what? Those approximations are harmonic oscillator potential. This is one approximation, and another approximation is square well potential. Okay, so harmonic oscillator potential is the most common approximation. Okay, harmonic oscillator potential. Harmonic oscillator potential is most common approximation. Okay, harmonic oscillator potential is most commonly used approximation. Square well potential is also used, but that is not very common. Harmonic oscillator potential is the most common approximation which we use. Okay, so we will keep the class this much only. Thank you very much. This was the introduction of nuclear shell model. In the upcoming classes we are going to learn about the nuclear shell model in further more detail. Okay, so keep in touch with the videos. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.